Welcome, 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 everybody. It's good to see you tonight. I believe we're live streaming. We'll have a couple of folks check that out and make sure we are. But it's good to have you tonight. I suddenly developed a frog in my throat. I don't know who it come from. It might have come from Amuela. I don't know, but but it's good to have everybody tonight. Those of you listening by Power Faith Radio, it's so good to have you with us tonight. And we just got a text from them down in the Georgia group, so we appreciate you listening tonight. And everybody listening in Power Faith Radio, we thank you so much. And if you want to view this video, you can always go over to B'nai Noach Fellowship Facebook page. It is a private group, so you can ask to join. And then also we got a Simple Walk, which is a public group, and we ask all those to share those videos with all your social media platform. And it's brought to you by Outreach Noah. You can find us at a couple different places. Outreach Noah YouTube channel, just type in Outreach Noah, and while you're there, please subscribe to that channel, hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. And you can also find us at outreachnoah.com and email us at outreachnoah@gmail.com. Did I get all that in?
I think you did.
I think I did. So, all right. Well, Terry, you want to greet everybody, and I'll get ready with our Sadaka time.
All righty. Greetings, everyone. And again, welcome to our Wednesday night Outreach Noah class. Everyone here in the Zoom room, we've got Scotty and Amuela, Ronald and Bob, Veronica, Wendell, Fred, and of course, Annie again. Scotty's better half, the one who keeps him in check.
Yep.
Yep. We're all here in the Zoom room. And again, the Zoom room is open for anyone that wants to come in. You can go over to Simple Walk or in the B'nai Noach Fellowship, and the links are there in the class announcement for tonight that Scotty posts every afternoon. They're over there, or you can join us on the live stream in our YouTube channel, Outreach Noah at YouTube. And if you sign up for, kind of like this one guy says, if you'll smash that button there, and like it and subscribe, you'll get a notification when we go live or when we download any videos that we do. But you're welcome to come in to Zoom tonight if you want to. Also, I've been working on, give Scotty a little bit more time. I've been working on our website, cleaning it up, working on it, and spent last weekend, spent a lot of time. We have a new question and answer page, just some questions that Scotty has received. We've putting them on there. So if anytime you have some questions or anything you want to send us, feel free to send us. We're going to try to build that question and answer page on up as it goes. I'm breaking it up into categories. It's just a start. It's not completed. The same thing. I've also got a glossary page on there for a lot of the terminology that we use. A lot of people may have not heard some of the terminologies, and both of those are drop down pages in our study resource page. You're part of our study resources on our website at outreachnoah.com. So we've got those two avenues that's opened up for you this week. But like I said, both of those are continually growing as we come across more information put on them. Also, with our charity page, we have a page that's got a list of charities. It's not got very many on it right now, but it does have some charities there that if you're looking for somewhere to give charity to, I know I've got I've got an not Alzheimer's, but Parkinson's disease charity that's on there, and several others, and I think some autism charities and some food banks and things like that. That's on there, just getting it started. Scotty, you about ready?
I am. You was talking about that charity thing. I got hooked up with a guy this week, talking to him, and I've watched some of his YouTube videos. I'm not going to give him a plug right now, but he does a tremendous thing. He lives down in Mississippi. He lives in Mississippi. No. well, anyway, he lives somewhere. And they got these, back in the day, they brought these wild hogs in to hunt. And they just went crazy. And there's a lot of farmland where he lives. And the hogs are just overrunning. They can't plant before they get to harvest. The hogs have tore the ground up and eat all the everything up. And so what he does, he goes in with these large traps and catches those, and then he feeds the needy with those. And so people send in donations to help supply, for the processing of the meat and everything of that nature. And I thought that was really, I just hate to say, I know some people are going to say, "Oh, what they ain't supposed to eat a hog," but I'm just telling you what he does. He processes that. He's taken the problem and he's brought a solution that is feeding the hungry. And so I just think that was great. Anyway, I just want to
there's a group of hunters that they're not a group, but there's some hunters that's here in East Tennessee, up around Meigs County. There's always an overabundance of deer up there, up around around Watts Bar and places like that. And they'll go up there and they'll kill their one or two, and they still have like a limit. And they'll go in and they'll help thin the crowd out and kill their full limit, like it's like maybe 5 or something. And they take and have that butchered, and they donate that to like food banks and food kitchens and things like that and everything.
We will probably get a lot of emails out of what we just said, because people are going to, they're going to say, "Oh, you're talking about a hunt," So anyway,
I'm not worried about that.
Yeah. So
I'm not a hunter myself, but that's all right. Oh, the Parkinson's website is Michael J. Fox's.
Okay.
On Parkinson's, and I did some research on them because I've always liked him as an actor since I was a teenager. If I remember right, 100% of your donations goes to research.
Great.
On the Parkinson's disease. So if you have a loved one or someone that's going through that, you might want to check them out.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get into our Tzedakah time tonight. We appreciate everybody that has participated in this special time, this special event. And so we're going to get right into it and give Terry plenty of time to teach tonight. So as always, the first on our list is Terry and I's main teacher, Pesach, and his wife, Shira Sherbo. As I've said a couple of times, Pesach is regaining his strength after having some open heart surgery, and we really think they're doing great, but we want to give tzedakah for them tonight. Also, Ellie Kessler, that's my aunt that lives up in Michigan, and she's had a bout of vertigo sickness for quite a while now. So we're going to give tzedakah for her tonight. And then also Bria Bornstaff Dunshar. I think I pronounced that correctly. Bria, I'm sorry if I didn't.
Dunshade.
Thank you. So listen, Ronald, I'm going to have to start shipping these names over to you so you can help me out on this. So we're going
to bring to mind.
Okay, good deal. We're going to give tzedakah for them tonight. Also for Evelyn Seal, we're giving tzedakah for her tonight. Also Clifford Hool, we're giving tzedakah for Clifford Hool tonight. Also for Robin Wade, giving tzedakah for Robin Wade. Also, Wendy Shepherd. Have you heard anything about Wendy lately, Ronald?
No, like I said, she's offline most of the time lately, and she actually sent me a text the other week when I asked when she was online, but I didn't see her response. I was busy doing something else, and when I got back to her, she was offline again, so I'm just waiting to see if I can catch up with her.
Okay, okay. Also, Amuela, somebody always sends. This is your dollar going into the Sadaka charity box tonight, and along with that, they send in one for you, Veronica, giving Sadaka that comes from you into the charity box, and they also send one in for Thomas Schaus. We're really missing Thomas here, but he'll be back real soon. And then also Marshall Warwick. How's that going, Ronald? Have you heard any updates on Marshall?
No, only what I said last week, that we're down to around the 2 week mark, hopefully, for the operation.
Okay, okay. And then also, Ronald, you are on our Sadaka list tonight. Ronald's going through some things, so let's remember to keep praying for him. And then also for Terry's father tonight, Philip Hayes. What's the latest on your dad, Terry?
Well, they sent him home for from the hospital. They can't go any further. They've tested. He's got some kind of mass down in his abdomen area, and he's got a gallbladder issue. But they found an infection when they were doing some trying to do some research on what was going on in his abdomen, and they sent him home with some antibiotics to work on that infection, because they got to go in and do a surgery, and they don't want to do it with that infection in there. And that's all. I talked to him a little bit yesterday. He did sound a whole lot better, but he's been weak. Yeah, but hopefully by probably Friday or so, I'll check back in with him, check with my brother. He lives out there with him, and find out how he's doing.
Okay, okay. Also, we're giving thank you Sadaka tonight for Mary Parsons, and I trust Mary's not shoveling no snow right now, right? Right, Wendell. So that's Wendell's wife. So we're giving a thank you. The Creator has brought Mary through a rough time, her and Wendell both, and so we're thankful that she's there to shovel the snow when it falls for Wendell. So, and you don't mow grass. Do you have any grass? Okay. So, and I'm trying to read something right here. Did somebody say something I need to add? Alice Warren one that says, "Now that I'm home, go wherever." Okay, that's somebody's watching. Okay, thank you, Amuela, for putting that on there. And then our blessed memory tonight, and I'm hoping I'm going to get this correct. I think it is Bria's mother or grandmother. I don't remember which. Is it?
I think it was her mother. I saw the post.
Her mother, and you're probably going to have to help me on this name. I believe it's Bahal Bet Miriam. Was I close enough? I'm close.
Yes, that's how I read it.
Okay. So if you would, everybody, write that name down the best of your ability, and maybe sometime the rest of this week before we come back next week, you would give blessed memory, give for the merit of Miriam, and we would greatly appreciate that. And now we come to our time of prayer. Hear our voice, Adonai, our God, Father of mercy. Have compassion on us and accept our prayer with compassion and favor. For you are a God who hears prayers and supplications, our King. Do not send us away empty-handed. Favor us and answer us and listen to our prayers. Amen. All right, Terry. I'm gonna get ready and put you on speaker view, and then you can pick up. We did have a question from last week, Terry, but I'm gonna wait on in just a little bit, because I'm thinking where you're gonna start. From what you text me, from where you're gonna start is going to completely answer this question. So okay. I'm going to let you just go ahead and take off with it, and I'm going to put you on speaker view.
All righty. Greetings again, everyone. Sorry for probably my voice sounds a little raspy tonight for some reason. Ever since I had that scope done on my stomach back when I had all those tests done on myself back in May, it seems like my voice is still a little bit rough. Seems like, I don't know if it's from doing that or if it's just this weather, because we've got storms coming through tonight. Supposed to have some pretty rough storms. So if I go, blank, Scotty, the power went out. But we've already had some pretty high winds and rain already come through. And
Yeah,
the calm before the storm.
that's what I told everybody a while ago, that we've got some storms coming through, and if I disappear, I'll be back. So, and Amuela's, she's gonna think about letting me back in, but
She might, she'll.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna put the key to the door in her hand. She might just lock it.
she's got it. She's got it. So, okay. All right, Terry, there you go.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're going to begin in chapter 2 of our book, but I want to first cover something that was kind of, I don't know if you call it, maybe say inspired by some, not necessarily some events. I normally do not get involved in certain threads online because I used to do some of that when I was, a little bit young, a little bit younger, several years ago, and found out it was a waste of time. I don't like to debate or argue or anything, but this particular thread really had nothing to do with that. Just one reason why, I posted, there was some other very well-educated people posted, and I kind of joined in there in the same vein that they were. And it was a statement, or a statement on a particular passage, which we covered a couple of weeks ago in Genesis. And I shared one of the traditional teachings from the sages on it. Then all these religious people got in there and was wanting to debunk everything with religious ideologies without knowing the language. And they own, just because you own a Strong's Concordance doesn't mean you have an answer. Well, I've got this word, I can look it up and I know what it means. And when you've actually studied the language and got, very good friends that's their first language that helps teach you, when you start seeing these things. And so I got involved with a couple of comments, but I back off because I don't want to spend a lot of time doing things like it. But it kind of inspired me and some thoughts. I just had it on my mind ever since the last few days. And I want to start it out. Again, I want to go back and talk about the title of our book, 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge, Spiritual Knowledge and Faith for the Righteous Gentile. So I just want to ask you a question. Why is spiritual knowledge important? So many people want to sit down and be Monday morning quarterbacks when it comes to Scripture. And you can tell that when you they're quoting what they've heard. They're quoting what they've been, basically taught doctrine wise. But when you get into study of certain things, you find out that, there's a difference between someone who's actually making a comment based on education than it is, Monday morning quarterback style. So why is spiritual knowledge important? Here's the reason why it's important. I just jotted this down. It's what I actually texted Scotty this morning. Your spiritual knowledge will impact your faith. Wrong knowledge will cause your faith or your belief to be flawed. And I know that's kind of strong. I grew up in a particular church that told us what we had to believe. We weren't permitted to read anyone else's material but our own. Then in 1995, that denomination ceased to be. I was 4th generation of my family. My wife, 3rd generation of my family in that. We would go into services one day, and the elders meet us at the door and tells us that we needed to go home, that we would not really care for what was going to be announced that day because they knew my wife's and I's background. We were, what we considered old timers in the denomination because we've been around. Our families have been around. And all of a sudden in 1995, everything that I knew exploded and my spiritual rug got jerked out from under me. And it was a very, very difficult time. Everything that I was, if nothing had ever happened, I'd probably still be right there. Had no reason to do anything else. But everything that I was, everything who I thought I was, what I believed, and everything was yanked out within a few minutes, out from underneath my feet. And I had to start over. That's what began my journey of actually studying, because I was always told this is what it is. This is what it meant. Didn't have no reason to research. But for the first time in my life, 1995, I had to start seeking God for myself. That's why I become so dogmated about don't let no one tell you, not even me. You research, you look, you ask questions, because it's you. It's not your denomination. It's not your belief and your faith in a particular certain religious ways. Makes you who you are. You've got to do this on your own, because if you get the wrong knowledge, it will flaw your faith and your belief. And I saw that this week. Is for the first time, I'm like, the reason these people are making these such comments, and I went and I used direct text, exactly how the text was, and they wanted to know this is not what it means. They were interjecting a religious belief outside of the Torah to try to explain something in Genesis. They had improper spiritual knowledge, and it caused their belief and their faith to have flaws, just like mine. And I know I'm not even flawless to this day. That's why I study. Scotty knows, we talk all the time. I said, I'm learning this, I'm learning that, and so our book is called 7 Gates of Righteous Knowledge. It says spiritual knowledge and faith. It's important that you have right knowledge, because right knowledge will impact your or even wrong knowledge will impact your spirit, your spiritual knowledge, and that will impact your faith. And if you have the wrong information, it's going to cause you, and it may not even, I'm not saying it's your fault, because I was raised in a situation that I was born in wrong information. Jeremiah 16, I think 49 says one day, the nation's going to wake up and confess to the Creator that we've all inherited lies. What I was born into was a lie in this particular denomination. And I didn't find that out till later, until it got yanked out from under me, beyond my control. And so I'm really strong on educating yourself in the ways of God. And so just to say that, just to say that again, your spiritual knowledge will impact your faith. Wrong knowledge will cause your faith to be flawed. Just think about that. And so I wanted to open up, before we get into our book tonight, I wanted to open up with Scotty and our teacher, Pesach Sherbo. He has a favorite passage, and tonight I'm going to open up with that. So Pesach, if you happen to listen to this tonight, thank you, because he brought this passage up a lot of times, and Scotty knows where I'm going to be going. Ecclesiastes chapter 12. In verse 13. And I'm going to read it in the English here, and then we'll go back and we're going to look at a few things. It says, the sum of the matter, when all has been considered, fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the man's whole duty. Okay? The sages teach in the Midrash, the Jewish writings, that where it says the sum of the matter, literal translation means the end is a word. The end is a word. And the sages teach, it says the end of man's conduct, because see, the word davar that's in this passage, which is translated as word, also means matter. It means matter, not matter like rock and stone, but but it says the end of man's conduct is that all proclaim. So the end of man's conduct is that all proclaim his deeds. I'm talking about your deeds. Your deeds. When we pass, our deeds come to an end. Because see, it says here in verse 14, it says, "For God will judge every deed, everything hidden, whether good or evil." See, this is important. We are being judged on our deeds. And it says we are to fear God and keep his commandments. And yes, the fear of God, yes, we should have the trepidation of God, because we're going to learn about tonight. The reason why I'm going through this too is because some of the stuff we're going to be going through tonight is very deep in, I don't know if you can't think of the words. It's very deep mentally when you sit and you think about it and ponder about it. And I really admonish to take what we're going to go through tonight and take some time to meditate on it. But to fear God and keep his commandments. Well, which commandments? Because see, God even segregates. We don't keep all of his commandments. Well, I'm going to do this one. No, you don't want to be like the sons of Aaron and run out there and do something you wasn't commanded. That tells us there's some segregation there. Then we learn that God segregates the commandments. When we look at the nation of Israel, the 12 tribes, they were given 613 commandments, but not all of them pertain to every Jew. Because just like our teacher, he's not a Levite, he's not a Cohen. But if he decided to do the commandments that are the Levites and the Cohens, there's actually some death penalty there for them. If someone, like in his case, decides to run up into the temple, if it was here, and God forbid said, "Hey, I want to run into the Holy of Holies. I want to be the high priest. There's commandments there, and I'm a Jew. Keep all his commandments." You'll die. So we have to learn part of the job of the Jews is to teach, even among themselves, what each one's supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do concerning their placement within the nation. Well, now we have our commandments because we're placed here in the nations. That's why we have the 7 laws of Noah. That's our primary duty. And so it's our duty. But what's interesting here is that the Hebrew does not say is man's whole duty. It says, Kizeh ko ha'adam. The word duty is not there. What is there is that it says that this is the whole man. When you fear God and keep his commandments, you become a whole person, a whole human being. This is what you were, the Sages says, this is what you were created for. What makes you whole is to fear God and keep his commandments. And so how do we know what we got to do? Well, we've got to learn. This is our righteous knowledge, our spiritual knowledge, learning what is right. And you notice here that the whole man says nothing about faith and belief. Matter of fact, even in the 7 laws of Noah, we have no commandment on faith and belief. Our commandment is on idolatry and blasphemy. They are actions. But the faith and the belief comes in from observing the commandments. And real quick, I just want to drop over here in Genesis chapter 6 before we go to the book. I want Genesis chapter 6. And let's see here. Whoop. Wrong one. Here we go. That's 9. Put my bookmarker in there, but I put it in the wrong spot. There we go. Here we go. Genesis chapter 6, verse 8 says, but Noah found favor in God's eyes. We know that God tells Noah, I'm fixing to destroy the earth. The evil of man, if we drop back, I think it's in verse 5. When God saw that the evil of man was great upon the earth, and that every design of his thoughts and his hearts nothing but evil, every day. So we hear that God's going to destroy the earth because of evil. But then we have in verse 8, but Noah found favor in God's eyes. And the very next thing that God told Moses in writing this down was that these are the products of Noah. Noah, a righteous man, morally impure in his times, Noah walked with God. His favor tied to this passage. Noah was a righteous man, and he was moral. Again, has nothing to do with faith and belief, but the actions of the man. But his actions, because they were righteous and pure, that impacted his faith, and he walked with God. And so we see here that these deeds are very important, and that's what we learn about, how that we need to walk with the Creator in what we are doing. Yes, our faith and belief is important, but it's our actions, because we're going to be judged on our actions. If you think about it, anybody we know that's passed away, whether someone that's part of our family, someone we knew, somebody famous, what are they known by? They were known by what they did. A lot of their works. People who were I'll try to say the word philanthropists, doing good deeds among, humans and things like that, and taking care of the animals. And those things are, when you look at Mother Teresa, she was known by the things that she done. And that's why it's important to have a correct spiritual knowledge, because it does impact that knowledge you have does impact your faith, impact your belief. I saw that this week when people were posting, they had incorrect information on these scriptures in Torah because they didn't know the language. They didn't know, they were reading from a translation with the eyes from a religion. That's what they taught them. And they were just fed improper information, which pretty much all of us, we've all gone through that. And even anything in regular life, you can have improper information. You can get online and self-diagnose yourself. Oh, you might have got a lot of good information, but it wasn't fit for you because you misdiagnosed your problem. That happens a lot today when we have, our online, Dr. Google can get us in trouble. Scotty, anything about that question?
Sorry, I got like 6 more buttons to push before I get over here because I got to go on the radio. So, you've covered that. You've covered that. I think you covered the question well. Let's wait till the end. I just sent them a text.
Okay.
So let's wait and see if they have swallowed what you were talking about.
If I went too fast or whatever, I'm sorry. I'd be glad to go back over, but it's just been on my mind a lot this week. I've been doing a lot of meditating, a lot of thinking about it, and even some praying about this whole issue of how our spiritual knowledge, because our book here is Spiritual Knowledge and Faith. Well, our spiritual knowledge will impact our faith. The right knowledge is going to give you a real strong faith, a strong belief. And things are but the wrong will cause you to be flawed in your misunderstanding. And we've all been there, and we'll all go through it. It's something you probably won't ever, say I've gotten away from that in my life, because we all still have those areas in our life where, we'll receive information, but we didn't know it was not the correct information until later.
That's one of the issues that they were discussing in this, is that knowledge that we have received all of our life could be flawed. That's the way they said it.
What I'm saying is, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it was all wrong.
Right.
I'm
right.
just saying there's some flaw in, because even some of the stuff I grew up with, my wife and I still live by. You know, our denomination taught a lot about morality, how you were to be in public with people because you represented God, and so you needed to be so. There was a lot of things that was right that I've never lost. But there were some areas that, as I've learned and I went to seek myself and study and grow in my own spiritual life, I've had to replace certain things that I know now that is definitely wrong. They don't line up. And we all have to do that.
Well, their question was dealing more with, how do we know when we are learning from the right people?
That's a good question. That is really a good question. And part of that will actually be on your responsibility, because we have to learn. The more you learn, and you learn the right things, you'll begin to be able to decipher who you don't need to learn from. And now that's going to take time. Now with us, I'm just going to take because since I've been studying, the Hebrew scriptures for 20 something years, and since around 2009, I started connecting myself with the proper Hebrew teachers of the Bible, the proper Torah teachers of there. And I'm just going to just be honest with you. I'm going to just lay it out. Who are they? The majority of those are found, and they do not like this term because it was put on them from the outside world, not themselves. But pretty much your Orthodox rabbis are the ones that have carried the tradition since Moses. And I understand, but not all of them works with people of the nations, and a lot of them haven't studied the parts that we are supposed to. It's only been for the last 30, 40 years that we have been starting knocking on their door. Again, throughout the last 2,000 years, every time they stuck their head out, they would, they get it chopped off pretty much, because the world did not want to hear from them. And matter of fact, there's some evidence coming out that, during the time in the 300s or so, in the formations of, I'm going to say, the Roman Catholic Church actually made some decrees against the Jews teaching these laws to the nations. And they were persecuted when they tried. So for almost, 1,500, 1,800 years now, they withdrew and they quit. But now we're coming and knocking on their door and saying, hey, we're hearing that this is something you're supposed to be doing. And some of them are now stepped up to the plate and are teaching that. But you've got to remember, they've been teaching their own people for thousands of years, not us. And so sometimes there's a little bit of crossover when they're teaching us, that some of it still pertains only to the Jewish people and not us. That's why we have to learn our laws. And our laws are practical. They're not mystical. There's no religious holidays and rituals and secrets or anything. They're practical for us to be able to have harmonious moral and ethical societies. That's what we're supposed to set up. The world is supposed to live in a moral and ethical way. And that's what we're supposed to do. And we know our world is not like that now. And so what we have to do is take what we've been learning and take it into our own lives. And when you impact someone else by your deeds and your character in a moral and ethical way, you're impacting their world. And so in essence, you are impacting the world. We just not got set up governments. It's not affecting the whole governments worldwide like that. But yes, how do you know? It takes time. It takes time. As you learn, you'll see that maybe someone, and even like our teacher told Scotty and I sometime, let's say you find you a proper teacher and they teach you. Once you have learned a certain part, you can actually outgrow your teacher, and you may need to find another one to keep moving up. And there's not a problem with that. That's normal in learning the Torah, is that you find you a proper teacher and that can teach you. And Scotty and I, and you can ask us, and there's some others here that we've got some that we would recommend if you're looking, to learn from and things like that. It's the ones that we learn from. And so, but it's going to be up to you on a lot of that, on finding the right teacher. And it just takes some trial and error. It's going to be just like anything else, trial and error. I left, the denomination I grew up in left me. Then in a matter of a year or so, I found myself walking through the doors of a denomination that I would never had dreamed. You could have put $1,000 in front of me and said, you're going to do this, and I would have laughed at you. But several years after that event for me, I walked in the doors of a Pentecostal church, mother church of a main Pentecostal denomination. Within so many years after that, during that time, the pastor started taking my wife up through ministerial workings, through doing Sunday schools and different outreaches and things like that, and chapels, till he told us that we needed to go through the ministerial training program. We did, and we become associate pastors. We found that it's been a journey, and that's what this is. It's a journey, guys. It's a journey. Don't despise your journey, because everything you go through is the footsteps that brought you to where you're at today. Don't get mad at where you were at. Don't get mad, and you might find out that, hey, this isn't exactly right. Don't get mad at that. That's where you were at that time. But it was the steps that brought you to where you're at today. And we're all in this journey together as human beings. And the beautiful part about the 7 laws of Noah is let's don't worry about religions and everything. Let's work on our human conduct, being the human being that the Creator has wants us to be. And that's what we're learning here. We're going to be learning some knowledge tonight. We're going to, I know we kind of gone a little bit long, but I'm going to get into this, and especially at least far enough to, I want to give you something to think about this next week. I want you to meditate on it. Maybe even if you've got this book, to take and reread it again so you can grasp this knowledge. This is something that I learned years ago, and it's something when it comes to the essence of the Creator, His majesty, if you want to spend time praising Him, is when you can start thinking about some of the things we're going to be learning tonight, and just, it's actually almost unfathomable in your mind, but it can actually cause you to have some praise, and people like to sing before God, and I don't know, these kind of things is where I love getting into these kind of things, and sitting and meditating before God and thinking about His grace, His greatness, and His awesomeness. But tonight in chapter 2, page 19, the unity of God and His powers, and the mistaken belief in independent deities. But this first section, it says, the sages of the Mishnah taught, with 10 utterances, the universe was created. When you go through Genesis, there are 10 utterances. And it just mentions just a few here. As it says, in the beginning of God's creating the heavens and earth, God said, let there be light. God said, let there be the firmament in the midst of the waters. These are utterances. There's 10 utterances involved in the creation of the universe, of everything physical and everything spiritual. It says, let there be firmament in the midst of the waters, etc. Also in the book of Psalms, it says, forever, O God, your word stands firm in the heavens. Forever, O God, your word stands in the heavens. About these words, Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov of blessed memory explained that God's utterance, let there be a firmament, etc., stands forever in the heavenly realm and is enclosed in them to give them existence. As it is written, the word of our God shall stand forever. That's in Isaiah 40. and his words live and stand firm forever. For if the divine utterance, as an example, let there be a firmament, would depart from the firmament and return to its source, which is God's power of divine speech, the heavenly realm would instantly cease to exist, as if it had never been created, and the creation would be as if it was before the firmament existed, before the spiritual waters were separated from the physical waters. This is what it's saying. God's word stands forever. When he said, let there be light, that word is still going. That voice, we always talk about if these walls could talk. And science have proven now that they can actually pull voices out of some matter. I mean, that happened years ago with some of the instruments that they were working, that your voice just continues. And so and God's voice said, let there be light. God's word stands forever in the heavens. Meaning, let there be light is still going on. If that word was to stop and return back to him, light would disappear and it would be as it was before there was creation. This is why it is important to understand that God's word stands forever. Because everything he said is still being said. It's still going. It is what holds the creation together, and it is the force. His speech is the divine power that keeps the creation from just disappearing. Without his word standing forever, there would be no creation. It would appear, and as soon as his word disappeared, so would the creation. There is no reason for the creation to exist except that his word continually stands forever. In these 10 utterances, these 10 utterances of creation is still going throughout into eternity, and it's been proclaimed from the time that he uttered it. It has never stopped. Therefore, we continue to have light. We continue to have the utterance the firmament. We have the earth. We have us. We have the animals. It is all still here, just because his word stands forever. Just when you get a chance, just sit and think about that. And he said he created it, as the sages teaches, he created it from what's called Lashon Kodesh, the holy tongue, which is the Hebrew language. It's 22 letters. And scientists several years ago had because all matter is energy, just rearranged and where it's made into compact. Because if you could literally line the energy of this book up with the energy in your hand could pass through it. And the scientists years ago I think it was like an apple or something, and they were able to take it down and read its energy, because it's physical. It's physical energy. So it's there to be read. And when they did, in that reading appeared a Hebrew letter. They did that with several objects, and each one of them had a Hebrew letter that was in that energy signature. So if the Creator took one letter away, creation would collapse. Because if he took that word that he spoke, even one syllable of that word stopped, whatever he spoke would cease to be, as if it was before he ever said it. I mean, that's something to give the Creator thanks about when you wake up in the morning, thanking him that his word still stands forever. Just because you woke up is proof that the word of the Creator that spoke in what we call Genesis, just because he spoke it, you are still here today. And that's something to give him thanks about and to praise his name. The same applies to all creations, whether in the spiritual or physical realm, and even for inanimate objects of the earth. If God would remove his creative force, which is constantly giving a created physical or spiritual entity its existence through one of his 10 utterances, and which keeps it existing at every moment, then that entity would return to nothing. In all respects, the actions of God in his creation of all things are incomparable to those of human. A human's actions can only change an entity from one created form to another. As in the case of an artisan who takes a block of silver and changes it from its form into the shape of a vessel. When he finishes shaping the vessel, it leaves his hands, and its existence is not dependent on him. Just like this cup, it was made, it was manufactured. Once it's manufactured, this cup's existence doesn't rely on its manufacture. It doesn't depend. Anything we make doesn't depend on us. It's independent of us. Just as the original block of metal was not dependent on him, since he did not create it. God, however, creates the substance and the form of the vessel, and the same applies for all his creations. Their existence is contingent on his will to create them ex nihilo, something from nothing. I'm going to say that again. Their existence is contingent on his will to create them. We are not independent from God. We rely on him. Our existence relies on him. This is where faith starts coming in. We have to rely on him for our existence. So many of us and so many human beings get caught up into themselves, and they say, well, this is my body. This is mine. No, you didn't make it. Your existence depends on God's will that he made you. When we have to rely on him at every instant, every breath, every thought, every second of our life, we have to be relying on his will that he created us. Thus, there is no reason for the created entity to exist other than the power of God's command and utterances, which actualized his will that this entity be created and exist in a particular way. There is no reason for our being. There is no reason for our existence other than it was his will contained in the 10 utterances. In other words, every particular thing exists through a particular creative force that emanates from God. And that particular force is derived from the much greater general power of his 10 utterances that are recorded in the book of Genesis, chapter 1. It is in this way that the heavenly realm, the universe, our earth, and all their host are created from nothing. When a person contemplates all the above, he will understand that every individual creation with its particular limitations, as well as the entire limited creation as a whole, both the physical and the spiritual, is accounted as nothing compared to the godly creative power invested in it. It is the divine power which creates it ex nihilo, something from nothing, and gives its existence at every moment, and which that is the true reality. The true reality that our existence completely, we completely rely on his word standing forever. And we have no reason to even exist and to be other than his will that came forth in the forms of the 10 utterances. Scotty, I'll stop right there. Because I could keep on going tonight because it continues, but it was a good stopping point for tonight.
Yeah, that is what you're covering tonight. Again, it's the red pill or the blue pill. So you just got to, yeah. I think that needs to soak in.
That's what I'm saying. Take some time and meditate on this. You know, if you've got the book, go back and read it. Think about it. Go back and read Genesis chapter 1, and you'll see these utterances that are there. The let there be, to come forth, and he said all of the, there's 10 total. And what's interesting, 10 within the Jewish tradition is a quorum, means complete. It means like a completeness. In the Jewish culture, they have what's called a minyan. I know a lot of you heard, you see the Jewish men come together and they pray. They have a minyan, and that's 10 men. When there's not 10 there, there's only 9. There are certain prayers they're not permitted to pray. It takes 10. And so the number of 10, and it has become throughout the Torah a quorum. The number 10 has meaning, you know, like a congregation for Israel. It's like 10 represents a complete congregation. And so we have 10 utterances as the example we have here in Genesis is a completeness. It took 10 utterances to make everything that there needed to be for heaven and earth.
All right, Terry. We're like 3 minutes of being here an hour, so I think everything kind of finalized pretty good.
How's the question going?
Well, there's really not any questions dealing with what you brought out tonight. You know, there's always people that post stuff, and you just have to cipher through it. So you get that all the time. So I'm glad I'm the one ciphering through it, because I can. And I just tell people sometimes stick around. You might find out some good information.
Right. So. Yeah. Just think about, you know, that it takes righteous knowledge to produce the right spiritual knowledge and spiritual faith. We can see that example. The reason why I read Noah. Noah found favor in the eyes of God. And the very next thing that the Creator had Moses write down was that Noah was a righteous man, and he was moral. He was morally pure, and he walked with God. And he was able to do that. His righteousness, his morality, he had the right stuff. How do we know? He's the only one that's called righteous, even in the Torah. He is the one that God chose to be the second Adam, to start man over again.
Yeah.
And God started mankind after the flood with this example of righteousness and morality that caused him to find favor in the eyes of God. It's just something to think about.
All right, Terry, I'm going to bring us to a close, and I'm going to try not to do what I did last week. I just closed everybody out of this room. And
he did. He turned the switch off. It got dark on the bridge.
Yeah. So, okay. So it's so good to have everybody with us. We thank you for your participation, good or bad. We thank you for that participation. At least we know you're listening, and I think, and we just appreciate it. Now, if you have any questions, you can get with us, and simply you can message me, Terry. See, Terry or I, how would you do that?
And we have outreachnoah@gmail.com and our website. Yes. You can contact us through that.
Now, somebody did ask, well, who are y'all's rabbis? So instead of answering that straight right here, I would like them to PM personal messages. But yeah, send us a message.
Send Scotty a message.
Yeah, and I will send you, because Bob has some personal people, and Veronica has some personal people, and I'm sure that Wendell has some personal people, and Ronald and Amuela and Terry and I, and it's going to depend on where you're located at and what type of information that you're looking for. So if you can send that, I'll send you to one of them who will say, hey, this is who I listen to get that. And so just send us those messages, and we will send them to the proper and appropriate people. Okay. Somebody did ask, they said, I ask a lot of questions, but it just gets me in trouble.
No, you ask questions.
Yeah.
You do not ask questions, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow. And if you have a teacher that says, believe it by faith, or don't give don't ask me a question, that you want to know who not to listen to. Yeah. Any teacher that tells you they don't want any questions, or just tells you, oh, receive it by faith. No.
Right.
Do not do that, because that will cause you flawed. It will cause you to make mistakes. It will cause you to have flawed spiritual knowledge that can cause, spiritual damage and physical damage to you. And I'm just being serious. You want a teacher that looks for your questions, and there will be some. And if he's the right teacher, you may go up and ask X, Y, Z, but he knows that's not really that's not the question and how it needs to be formed. And so they will begin to ask you questions back. They will answer your question with a question. And the reason that is to cause you to contemplate the question you've got. They are not turning you down. They're not wanting to answer you. They're wanting to strengthen you in your question and in your thoughts to draw out, to draw what needs to be drawn out of you. So if you go to a teacher and he answers your question with a question, that's generally a good sign of a good teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Terry, I'm going to bring us to a close. We appreciate everybody that joined us in the Zoom room tonight. And I guess Fred, he was here, but I know he's working probably. And so internet sometimes doesn't work very well where he's at. But we appreciate everybody that came in and joined us here in the Zoom room. And remember, as Terry said, if you want to come into the Zoom room, if you're watching or listening via the radio, send me an email, and I will send you a link in the email back that you could come in. You don't have to really go to the Facebook pages to find that link. I will personally send you a link back for you to come on into the Zoom room. So please do that. We appreciate everybody listening through Power Faith Radio. And we have B'nai Noach Fellowship, which is a private group, a Simple Walk, which is a public group. Please give us a thumbs up. And in the Simple Walk, you can share those videos with all your social media platform. And go to Outreach Noah YouTube channel. While you're over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell that you'll be notified every time a new video goes up. You can find us at outreachnoah.com. Email us, send the email to outreachnoah@gmail.com. Did I cover everything okay?
Right. And if you also go to the website, there's a contact page that you can actually contact through the website as well.
Yeah.
You can send messages.
Before we come to a close, I have to make a personal plug tonight. Personal plug. We have an author in the midst of us tonight, and did you just get that book translated into another language, Veronica?
It is translated into Dutch for the Netherlands, and I'm supposed to be having somebody do it for Indonesia.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
Congratulations in Burkasham.
Yes, yes. So I'm waiting on her to travel the country for her book signing tour, and we're hoping as she comes through Tennessee, the eastern part of Tennessee. I want to be specific. Eastern part of not Pacific. I want to be specific. Come on down the eastern part, and I hope you just get stuck here. And this is where you find yourself writing your next book. So we appreciate that. Now, Ronald has his hand up. Ronald, you got your hand up. Jump on in there.
Just a question from Sharon Lee. I don't suppose you have to name anybody particular at this point, but she's asking, are there any rabbis who are ordained in teaching Noahides?
Okay. Understand, Scotty, I'm going to take a few minutes.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
When you hear the word rabbi technically just means teacher. It's teacher. There are a lot of rabbis that just like they go and they learn, and especially within the Jewish community. Like one of the classes I used to go to at a synagogue in Atlanta when I was studying under some rabbis, Rabbi Silverman. That was a class that I went to, and he was a rabbi, and he did teach some classes, but his main rabbinic teaching was for the Jewish people on koshering kitchens. He could go in and kosher a stove and oven, that it had some unkosher things that were having to get, or if it's used and they bought it, they kosher it because they have very strict dietary laws that require certain koshering things. And so his rabbinic degree, if you want to call it that, was in koshering kitchens. You have there's many different, you have some that's that are rabbis of slaughter. There are rabbis who watch over the kosher certificates in restaurants and manufacturing places and stores that sells, foods where Jewish people purchase them, because they're, like I said, they have a Torah mandated high dietary laws that don't pertain to us. It pertains to them because of who God made them. So but there is not right now at this time, there is not like a rabbinic study to be, ordained. Ordained is not what they do. It's a study to become a rabbi of the Noahides. They don't have that right now because, one, again, this is still fairly new even for them, even though we're in the modern age, we're hitting probably around 40 something years since this is really kicked off again in the world. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot going on overseas. Scotty and I know some rabbis in Israel that works with people in Russia, Indonesia, and Philippines, and Asia. And there's a lot of stuff going on over there. It's actually more than what's even going on here. And so there's not any like rabbinic degrees in that, but there are some rabbis who have actually taken up the cause to study, to know this part of the Torah. They've known a lot for thousands of years. They've already actually known it. It's even in their writings, some of their ancient writings about the laws of the nations. It's there. They just wasn't permitted to teach us that because of the persecution that they were under. But there are modern rabbis that have taken some of this up, and there's some really, really, really good ones out there. I'm just going to mention one right here that I'm just going to say, Scotty, that we all enjoy, and he's from Canada. And it's Rabbi Michael Skolback. He does really, really good. I'm just going to mention his name. He's got some good videos out there, and he teaches and helps and works a lot of Noahides up in Canada. And he's a public source. That's the only reason why I'm going to mention him. If you wanted to look some of his teachings on the laws, on the nations, on charity and morality, he's just got some really good stuff out there. And I know Scotty and I, we listen to his stuff quite a bit. But as far as having a degree in that, no, it's not possible right now. Even the rabbis have talked about that. This is a subject even amongst them that was even brought up to Scotty and I. There's not a degree in that for them at this time. But understand, they don't have to have a degree in this, because in the future, Zechariah 8:23 says that 10 men of the nations, or will grab 10 men, or I think it's 10 men of the nations will grab the garment of the Jew, and it says in the Hebrew Yehuda. So it doesn't say rabbi, it says Yehuda. A properly trained Torah observant, and that's what they prefer to be called, is Torah Jews, can teach anyone the Noahide laws, and they can teach you the basics. They don't even have to teach you the in-depth stuff, because some of that stuff even comes upon us to learn how to take what they teach us and apply it to ourselves and our own nations, our own cultures, whether you live in India or whether you live in Indiana. Did that cover that? Okay, Scotty.
I was also going to throw in the Noahide path.
Yes, Dr. Michael Schulman is one that actually Scotty and I personally had a personal meeting with him the other day online and discussed some things. He's really good. He's developed what's called the Noahide path that's online.
Can I correct you there for a second? It's Moshe Schulman. It's
Moshe
not
Schulman. Yeah. Sorry,
Yeah,
Moshe.
We're from Tennessee, Veronica. Thank you so much.
But anyhow, Rabbi Schulman contacted me this week. In a couple of weeks, he's going to be giving me an announcement that he would like me to share on our group, and I told him I would. So, but they do have the Noahide path on Facebook, and once you're on there, he's available to contact him, and he will talk with you. He's very personal. I found he's very personal. Now he's very, very straight up. You can ask him a question, and sometimes it will be just straight yes or no. He doesn't have a lot of time, so he will give you. But I will be bringing an announcement from Rabbi Schulman here in a couple of weeks. As soon as he told me, I thought he wanted me to do it this week. He said, "Oh no, give me a couple of weeks." I said, "Okay." And it's going to be another learning avenue. It's going to be about a learning. I'm going to have the details for another learning avenue that he's working on that will be available too. And I really recommend him. He's really, really good. And he knows his stuff. He
doesn't beat around the bush to give you an answer.
He doesn't beat around the bush.
No,
and he's very, very, very knowledgeable. He's been studying, and he knows. He's one of those, if there was probably a degree, he would have that degree in that. So
when I was in school doing math, and the teacher said, "What's 2 + 2?" and I would say, "Well, I think it's 5." They wouldn't start by saying, "Well, you could get 5 out of it, but if you work it the right way, you might get 5 out of it, but And the teacher would say, "No, you're wrong." So, and that's what I like about him. So, nope, that's not right.
Since you said that,
okay,
before we go, I learned this from one of my detective shows that I watch, and it was a pathology department that worked at a university in England, and I learned that, we were talking about asking questions a while ago, and how that the rabbis will help you actually develop a question sometimes. This I want you to think about this. The question is not, is 2 + 2 = 4? That's not the question. The question is 4 equals. Think about that.
Thank you, Terry, for blowing our minds tonight.
And that's really a lot of how we need to think about when we look at questioning and learning from the Torah. We're not looking for the answer in a 2 + 2 = 4. We're looking at 4 equals. 4 equals 3 + 1, 5 - 1. You can see what you can develop in 4 equals.
Yeah.
And that's what we do with the Torah a lot of times when we're learning and studying, and how the rabbis, that's the reason why some of their writings is why you don't want to get into some of their stuff, because they've been doing it for 3,400 years.
Yeah. All right.
All right, Scotty.
All right, everybody. I've already said all the ending stuff, so we shall see you.
No, you got one
Oh,
more.
you
Brock
have
is
not.
going
You
crazy.
have not.
Broadcasting from the foothills of the Great Smoky Mountains of East Tennessee, you're listening to Power Faith Radio. So, okay,
And
my wife
Outreach
does that,
Noah.
and Outreach Noah. My wife does that a whole lot better than I do. I'm just going to tell you.
Now, we're going to have to get Annie on here sometime. She don't have to be on video. She can just be on voice and do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to hear Annie do that.
We may talk her into doing that next week. So, okay.
she can hide behind the door and say it. We just want to hear her say it.
We one of our little jingle things we did is around the world and across the heavens. You're listening to Power Faith Radio, and that's one of the ones she would do. And somebody asked me one day that was listening to the radio here in town, and they said, "Who is that you got doing that voiceover for that jingle you put on there?" I said, "Well, that's my wife." And they said, "What?" so okay, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.
See you. Y'all have a good week. Good weekend.
Yes. Bye-bye.